Welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. This is the case of the Idaho quadruple murders that took place in Idaho, Moscow on the 13th of November 2022. May the victims rest in peace. May justice be served properly in the correct manner. This is for entertainment purpose only. The reason I say that is for entertainment purpose is there's a lot of speculations and rumors in this case, but I personally believe that there could be something with some of the speculations. Today I'd like to talk about the 4 figures that were seen running behind the police officer that his body cam caught. And these are the 3 minors that were stopped by the undercover police that are always found to be a bit suspicious. Now, something that is very interesting is that these 3 boys that were stopped by the police wasn't just a coincidence. Somebody called the police on them. So I wonder if this was part of the plan of whoever could have done this horrific quadruple murders. They must have known that the undercover police were outside. So to keep them occupied, they must have called the police on these guys intentionally, or it could have been part of all of their plans. Basically to distract the undercover police from what was really going on. You see the figures running soon, and we always think that they're 4 figures. But if you look at it properly, they look like they're more. They could be possibly 5 or 6. We know that they clearly came from Kings Road and those areas. And for me, it looks like they were running to the Sigma Chi fraternity. We've heard of the Fortune post. Someone from the Sigma fraternity, allegedly, an anonymous person, put that up. There was a poster earlier on in Reddit of someone who was anonymous from the Sigma Chi trying to actually take credit of committing these horrific crimes. We do understand that these are students, college students. They could be doing things just to prank people or to get attention or to distract the real attention away. But I still find that to be very interesting. The reason I find this all to be very interesting is because for me personally, it proves that they had more motive to do such a crime, because they had 3 targets in the Fortune post. The 3 targets that they mentioned was Maddie, Xana, and Ethan. And that could make sense because Katie wasn't supposed to be there that night. When you have 4 figures running or 5 figures, and this was at 3:12. Let's not forget that Idaho Moscow police told us that the timeline that this happened, the quadruple murders, was between 3 to 4 a.m. It changed later on to 4:05 a.m. The coroner said that the deaths was pronounced after 2 a.m. I do understand after 2 a.m. can be 2, 3, 4, 5, but usually coroners try and predict a closer time to when it could have happened because of trigger warning, because of the stiffness of the body. The body would have been warm if it just happened a couple of hours before that. I'm sure the coroner knows what she's doing. So to pronounce the deaths after 2 a.m., I would say 2 to 3, 3 to 4. It would have been between those 2 hours. If it was closer to 4 a.m., she would have said 3:34, around 4 a.m. That's the way I look at it. But what were these 4 figures doing running? Where did they come from and where were they heading? They looked like they were heading towards the Sigma Chi and those areas. I've always kept an eye on these 3 people that the police stopped and the 4 figures running, or 5 figures, because the timing can't just be a coincidence. And since they mentioned this on the 4chan, there could be something with it. It's worth investigating it. I don't understand why the police haven't investigated the 4 figures running. You see 2 heads there, 2 figures, and 2 figures ran before him, before these 2 figures, and 1 is behind. So where did these 5 figures come from? Let's not forget in the 4chan post, the anonymous person said that they calculated to do these crimes within 19 minutes. They wouldn't take any phones with them so that the Wi-Fi and the connection wouldn't catch their phone devices, which makes sense. The timing is at 3:12. Could it be possible that these are the 4 figures Bethany Funk, one of the surviving roommates, saw from a window? It is possible. And at times I wonder if any of the 4 roommates had a small gathering or a party, or let some of the friends in, and just picture if they told them that we are tired, just leave, or for whatever reason they didn't want them there anymore, and a fight broke out. Because let's not forget, we heard that Dylan yelled to her roommates and said, "Keep it down, I'm trying to sleep here." Was it the 4 figures? Possibly that were basically doing this horrific crime. If these 4 figures were involved and the 3 figures that, not the 3 figures, the 3 guys that the police are talking to, that would make them like 7, 8. That could make sense for such a horrific quadruple murders. 3 or 4 of them could have been on the guard, and the other 3, 4 could have been inside the house committing the quadruple murders. This is just my speculation. And I was wondering, we always talk about the roommates being in shock. Some people have even mentioned that the roommates are hiding something. Most of us believe that the roommates storyline doesn't match. But have you ever thought of what if the roommates were told not to talk? What if they were threatened not to talk by the people who did it? Because let's not forget that Bethany Funk was at the party that night in the Sigma Chi. And if she witnessed the fights between the couple and, just say, David Lodge and David B., then she would know what they're capable of doing. And you can imagine as a witness, if you're told, keep your mouth shut, others you'll be next. Example, there's a possibility of that. Could they have been threatened? And like we know, they have these codes in the fraternities and all, not to call the police or not to say anything. But whatever happened to the 4 or 5 figures? How come they're not discussing that? How come the police are not giving us more information? Everything seems to be on a gag order. So obviously we're going to sit and speculate till we come to the bottom of this. Because for me personally, it does not make sense that BK did these crimes by himself. Or it doesn't make sense that maybe BK did not actually even do these crimes. His car was pinged in the area because maybe one of the surviving roommates called him. Or maybe somebody that he knows called him to the crime scene without him knowing that it was a crime scene. Because he was there for a couple of minutes. He could have opened his car, gone inside, and when he saw the crime scene, he ran out. Others, they would have found more blood evidence and more evidence on BK. The leather knife sheet that everyone seems to be thinking that is literally a sealed case that is done. His leather knife sheet was found there. Let's not forget, touch evidence that linked BK's father in a genealogical test was what connected it to BK. It doesn't mean that the leather knife sheet is BK's knife sheet, that he went and bought the knife. It's a touch DNA. And we heard the experts in the genealogical DNA explaining clearly to us that, just say if somebody comes to your house and touches your scarf, and then they go somewhere else to another house and they touch something, your DNA could be transported in that sense. I don't see any motive for BK to have come and slain 4 people to death. Bushy eyebrows is a description, let's not forget, from DM. But the question is, how much of DM, his witness statement, is accurate? Let's not forget, we have to think about the lightning in the room. It was dark. How could she have seen a set of bushy eyebrows at such a dark, pitch place? Wasn't she scared for her life when she opened the door thrice? That is important. How could she keep on opening the door when she heard Kaylee playing with a dog? She opened the door first time. She told them to keep it down. She opened the door once again. And then she opened the door for the 3rd time when she heard the man in the black clothing telling Zana, don't worry, I'm here to help. It doesn't make sense. For you to be opening a door thrice, and let's not forget the former The young gentleman who used to live in the house in 2021 said you could hear, he said it was a creaky, the house made creaky sounds. If somebody's walking on the floor, you can hear the noise. So how come DM is not stating that she could hear somebody climbing up the steps, somebody coming down the steps? That doesn't make sense at all.